You got to tell me.
We're rolling.
Cricket.
Uh-oh.
Matt's already messed up today, boys. But that's okay. Let's get going. Welcome to the Hardheaded podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Boy, have we got a show for you today. With me, as always, to my far right, very far right, Mr. Chet Sears. And across from me, Mr. Matt Amos.
Yo.
How you fellas doing today?
We're fantastic.
I'm always doing all right.
Good deal.
I think.
Well,
We're also, we have a streak going right now.
What streak is that?
The streak is, this is the third guest in a row that we have that is a Marine.
Oh, man.
wow.
We've got Anthony on the phone with us. Anthony, it's a pleasure to have you, man.
Yeah, it's nice to be on.
I found out you were in town today, and Matt didn't. Matt didn't let me know till you're already gone.
It was a brief trip.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when did we make that arrangement? Like Sunday?
Finalized it Sunday, and then I just wanted to make sure that you were in town and come get it then. So.
And I got into town yesterday afternoon.
You're leaving tomorrow?
Leaving tomorrow. It had to be done. Recording tonight, so it's like, hey, can you be here at 9 a.m.? Oh, yeah, I'll be there. All right. And we had some weather issues, so it was...
Yeah, pulling that trailer is kind of sketchy at first, getting used to it. I'm glad it wasn't as windier than what it was.
Oh, yeah, on a windy day, that thing's whipping you all over the road.
That's why it ended up at my deer camp, was because we went up there for a Labor Day. And you camped out in it with your family at my place for a Labor Day camp out. And on that Monday, the wind was blowing like 50 miles an hour. And you're like, dude, don't, because I pulled it up there. You had another trailer with you. And you were like, don't pull that thing back with the 50 mile an hour winds. It'll toss you all over the place.
Yeah, because you were pulling it with an Expedition.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been...
Because I have skills.
That would have been no bueno in that 50 mile an hour wind.
I'm not one of those city boys that have to have the 1-ton pickups just to tow something, you know.
Yeah, our Expedition has a tow package on it too.
Yeah. Trailer brake and all.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
All I know is he's got some family moving back, and so he needed a place to stay for a little bit. And I was like, man, just use this camper, Said it's got a couple of issues, but it doesn't leak. And we
shouldn't have said that.
I cursed it because I got up this morning and I was like, well, I'll just go pull in the slide and just kind of get a few things out of there that I need.
Yeah. And
walked inside, and the light fixture over the kitchen table
full of water,
completely full of water. I've never seen that before. I was like, this is perfect. So I emptied that out and said, well, here you go, man. The bed's dry.
Good luck. So
it'll work.
Matt, why don't you tell us how you and Anthony know each other?
Oh man. So let's see, 2010. Yeah. Was I first to the unit, or were you?
I was the first one to first platoon. You came shortly after, I believe, if I remember that correctly. Yeah. I got to the unit May 28th, 2010. So I think you were like a few days or a week or so after I got there, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's probably pretty close because it wasn't a real scientific process. There were some sergeants that came in at the same time that I did, and first sergeant comes down, looks at me, and goes, "First platoon." Okay. Sounds good to me.
The second one he walked up to, he goes, "Second platoon?"
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Pretty close. Oh, your name starts with A? First platoon.
And you where'd you come from? 1-7?
No, I came from 24th on I&I. And
okay.
And then you came from Fast, right?
Sure. Yeah.
You're going to have to help us laymen over here understand what I&I stands for.
And what Fast
I know what Fast is because that's how I run.
Maybe 20 years ago.
No, never. That's reality here.
Unless your name's Christopher Broughton.
There you go.
And then Chet runs fast. But only on his anniversary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, so I is inspector instructor. And so after I was injured the first time back in 2006, I re-enlisted, but I wanted something to where I wasn't going to deploy and I could still stay in and do the grunt thing. And so I got stationed in Kansas City on inspector instructor and just kind of running the headquarters element for the infantry unit there. Boring.
Yeah.
But
which is why you wanted back in, right?
Yeah. I got the time off that I needed, which was really, really good. And there's a command there that put up with a lot of stuff that, after a few years, I realized that probably could have been a little bit of stress related stuff, and they put up with it and put up with me, which was awesome. But got the rest I needed and went back out and said, it's time to go and start hooking and jabbing again. So, got those orders to 1-5 and the rest is history. And then coming from FAST, explain that. Cause that's a little bit foreign to me.
FAST is it's Fleet Anti-Terrorism Security Teams. It's kind of just a fancy word for just like security. We're trained to go to different areas of the world for embassies, for quick reaction forces, for if like an embassy is getting overrun or an embassy is having problems, they'll bring us in on helos and like we'll fast rope down and then we'll be able to like help fortify that embassy for security. But aside from that, yeah, I did 3 years with the FAST company. I was with 2F5 out of Yorktown, Virginia, and did one non-combat deployment with them, and then I went to 1F3 and I did another non-combat deployment with them to different areas in the world, and then came back PCS, and then that's when I went to Camp Pendleton to 1st Battalion 5th Marines and was put in Alpha Company in May of 2010. So that's FAST. Cool. Yeah, FAST. It sounds like a lot of shit in the Marine Corps, a lot of stuff in the Marine Corps. It sounds like super high speed, but it's really not. Yeah. It's just a job.
Yeah. And then, so then you guys were in Pendleton for a little while training, and then you deployed to Afghanistan or shortly after that?
Yeah. So you do like a workup. So we did a workup for probably, let's see here,
almost a year.
From like June 2010 until pretty much the end of February 2011. You go do different types of training. You go to different types of areas like up to Bridgeport, Hawthorne, stuff like that. And then you do all kinds of training. You go to CAX or whatever, 29 Palms, and you do that for 5 weeks. So it's like every unit that is fixing to go to country, they do a thing called a workup, and it's just different types of training to prepare you for that deployment that you're fixing to go on.
Yeah.
And then I was trying to remember at what point in that process did you get selected to be a handler?
So I got selected to be a handler in like September, October of 2010. And what I was told was, coming from security forces, like a lot of the fleet Marines don't really like security force Marines just because they feel like you haven't really done a lot in your time in the Marine Corps. A lot of guys will come over as NCOs already. So I came over as a corporal, but I wasn't I was willing to learn and like open-minded about things. But I had already decided that I wanted to get out of the Marine Corps once my enlistment was over. So what I was told, our platoon commander wanted to send me to squad leaders course, and I told him, I was like, well, why don't you send somebody else? Why don't you send another Marine who's going to further his career? And I guess that kind of pissed some people off, and I was told like, they're trying to send you to dog handler school to kick you out of the platoon. So that's what I was told. That's what I've always kind of like went off of. They tried to kick me out of the platoon and they sent me. They were like, we're just gonna send him to dog handler school. So I just went to the school, and I came back, and I was the platoon dog handler for the same platoon.
Suck
So
it.
that's the story.
And that's been, I don't know, just looking back on how long I've known you for a few years now, and primarily through social media because you live in a different state and whatnot. But just the journey that you had with Allie has been just really neat. So just kind of cue our listeners in, and Anthony, you'll fill in some of the big gaps that I have here. But the Reader's Digest version is when you had Allie, the canine, on that deployment, and then the canines just go from handler to handler until their service is done. But you had already gotten out of the Marines from an active duty perspective, the Marine Corps. I'm sorry, I'm learning.
Yeah,
in the Marine Corps, and you had the opportunity to adopt Allie after she was retired, right?
Yes.
And
so
go ahead.
Yeah. So I got out of the Marine Corps. So we got back from Afghanistan October 2011, and then I EAS'd in March 2012. So I had already been out of the Marine Corps, out of active duty status for little over 2 years. And so as soon as we landed back in the States with our dogs, the company is a civilian company. They trained the dogs, and they were there waiting at the airport. So they took them within the hour, within 30 minutes. They took the dogs, and they drove back across the country, retrained them, and sent them off with another handler. So I never thought I would see her again. Well, 2 years after I got out of the Marine Corps, I was just wondering where she was at. It was 2014, May 2014, and I started kind of like searching around for her, making some phone calls, and found out that the military was doing away with the program. So the dog handler wasn't an MOS. It wasn't a military occupational specialty. It was like an attachment. So I was a grunt, but they just selected me to be the dog handler. So since it wasn't an MOS, all them dogs that were in that program, when they did away with the program, they either went to law enforcement or they got adopted out to the handler. And I was her first handler, so I got first choice. And when I finally got a hold of who the right people I needed to speak to, they told me, they're like, yeah, we had you on file. We were going to call you soon. But, they tell me she's up for adoption, and we'll send you the paperwork. I filled out the paperwork and sent it back. And in July of 2014, I went and got her. But that's kind of a crazy story in itself as well, because my brother's a filmmaker, and we were going to make a little short documentary about it. And the local paper for the Tulsa World ran some stories on it, and then like Barry Switzer got involved. And I'm not big on sports, or I don't really watch football. I used to watch Sooners back in the day, but
yeah.
So the editor of the Tulsa World's like, Barry Switzer wants to talk to you, and I'm like, he's a football player, right? And no, he's a coach for the Sooners and for the Cowboy. Anyway, so short story long, him and I have became very close friends over the last 7 years, and I just had lunch with him a couple weeks back at his house, or went to his house, and we had lunch and spoke about a lot of stuff coming up, which we'll talk about here in a second. But yeah, so he was in the Army like back in the 60s, and he told me that story. And but he's very like patriotic guy, and so he helped me. He kind of made it easier for me to get Allie back, because he flew me and two of my brothers and my mom and two of my friends on his private jet to go get Allie and come back. So him and I became friends since then. And so I got her back July 28, 2014. And I had her for a little over 7 years.
Yeah. And she just kind of recently passed, just a few, I guess about a month ago.
It'll be 3 weeks ago on Friday that she started having some problems and had to have her put down. So.
Yeah, and I know how sad, having had dogs that have been lost in a normal situation is. But man, I know that had to be tough for you because she was with you through hell.
Yeah, she was there for us through that whole deployment. She was there for all the Marines, and she was there for the Marines after us. So I was never in contact with her other handlers until after she passed away. Like the day after she passed away, I was put in contact with two of her other handlers, and I've already spoke with them on the phone, and we're already setting up. So I had her cremated when she passed away, and like we're setting up. One of the guy lives in Maine, and one guy lives in Alabama, and we're already setting it up to where when we're on the road to shoot this film, like we're gonna meet up. We're all gonna meet up in like New Hampshire area, and we're gonna get her paw print tattooed on us, and then we're gonna sit around the campfire and just drink some beers and tell stories about all of our deployments with her and whatnot. So,
Dude,
and I have her ashes, and I'm gonna separate some of her ashes and give like little urns to the other 2 handlers, because
That's awesome.
we thought she did 4 deployments, but we're kind of thinking, speaking to some other guys, and then the other 2 handlers, we're thinking that maybe she only had 3 handlers. The timeline doesn't really match up for a 4th one, so we haven't been able to find a 4th one. But so.
Dude, I look at, just kind of looking from the outside in, just what a neat story, and just I don't know. I think it's fantastic that she got to live with you for after her service, and just know that she was loved, and I just think it's the coolest thing.
It's been different. Like having her gone, like I get home and look for her, and I have to like catch myself like, oh, she's not there, or like I'll look in the yard and I'll be like, she's not going to be there.
Yeah.
Kind of. So, but.
Yeah. But so great. The fact that you're able to adopt her and.
Yeah. And I told people, like, I always knew that day would come that would happen. I'd have to put her down. And so it was to me, it was like, it was a blessing and a curse in a sense to get her back. I was so happy when I got her back, because I never thought I'd see her again. But then I knew that time would come that I would lose her again. And that time that she'd be gone for good.
Right. Right. Man,
so, because really she was like a huge part of my life, like during that whole deployment and that time frame in my life was like defined kind of the life that I'm on now, the path that I'm on now, and the life I try to live. And like she was like a big part of that. So, and she's been able to be a big part of my life after that as too.
I think I don't know. I've just been touched by it, and your, I don't know, the friendship that you had with her, the bond. It's more than a friendship, and it's just been neat. And I think you've done a really good job of sharing and letting others be a part of that story as well. It's just fantastic, and just wanted to give you an attaboy for that.
Thank you.
And while you guys were deployed, Bangin, Sangin, like. You guys, you were in a pretty volatile place.
Yeah, that's what they say.
It made the papers.
Yeah, it's supposed to go down in history as one of the, for Afghanistan, the worst spot in Afghanistan, and it's Marine Corps history. It's supposed to be like up there with Bellawood and Iwo Jima, the Frozen Chosin, and Korea, the Tet Offensive, stuff like that. Like all these major conflicts throughout our history as a country since the Marine Corps has been around. There's always major conflicts that the Marines are involved in, and they say that Sangin was the major one for Afghanistan. So
yeah,
but so I guess backing up, because that deployment was a rough one, and I was only there for right at about 3 months of it before I was injured and no longer there. And because of that deployment, and you can tell whatever about that deployment that you want, because like I said, I don't have, I've only got not even a third of the time there that you had.
Well, just all you gotta do is just all the stuff that you went through was the same stuff the rest of the time as well. Like that we were all dealing with that same stuff, and it was and that's the thing that scared me a lot too, is like if I say I was never scared, I'd be lying. But because you were a senior Marine, like you and Ramachi and all these guys, they had been deployed before to combat zones, and so when you start seeing all these guys who are more experienced and they're more senior, they've been there before, and they start, they're getting injured and whatnot like that, and it's it's really it scares you, stops you in your tracks, kind of thing.
Yeah, because those leaders aren't invincible.
Yeah.
But and so talking about you call him Coach, or do you call him Barry?
I call him Coach.
Yeah. So, and I kind of wanted to talk about that, but back it up a little bit to kind of introduce what you're doing with this film. So, he flew you on the plane to go pick up Allie, and then you said that you were going to start doing these carvings, and then he kind of got you started with your initial equipment, right?
Yeah. So to those don't know that I do chainsaw carvings for fallen service members, and I started doing them in 2016. Well, I got Ollie back in 2014. Well, something occurred in May of 2016. One of the Gold Star families attempted suicide, and somebody contacted me and told me what had happened to one of the Gold Star mothers, or what she tried to do or whatever. And so that's what sparked the whole thing of like the carvings, because I wasn't doing them at the time, and I had no idea. I had no intention of doing something like this. So I just felt guilty in that moment. I felt guilty. I was like, well, like, we tend to struggle with our own issues, but like, I felt like, well, we can't forget about the families too, who are dealing with the same issues or even worse.
Yeah.
So.
And to our listeners,
that's what started.
Yeah, to our listeners that may not know, Gold Star family is a family that lost one of their kids in combat. So
yeah, it could be a kid, or it could be like their husband or their wife or their aunt, uncle. Also Gold Star. It's anybody who serves in the military. They, like, a lot of people will fly a blue star. So it's like a blue. There's a thing called Blue Star mothers that their child is serving in the military. But when that blue star turns to gold, that means that individual had been killed in a combat operations of that sort. So that's what sparked the whole carvings. And like, that's the one thing that's really great between Switzer or Coach and I's friendship, is because our friendship isn't based around like sports or football. Like, he's given me his book. He gave me his book one time, and he's like, yeah, just skip the chapter so-and-so. You don't need to read all that football bullshit. Like, he's very down to earth. Like, when you talk to him, he's very down to earth, just very, like, just a fun guy to be around. Is very, very outspoken, very, like, centers his attention around what you're there and what you guys are speaking on. Anyway, so he actually, when I started doing my chainsaw carvings, he got involved, and he got still involved, and still sent me some equipment, sent me some chainsaws, sent me a bunch of safety equipment and stuff like that. The stuff's probably a couple $1,000s worth of equipment. And so he contacted the still in St. Louis, and they sent me all that stuff. And then so in 2017, he was going to have me on he had a show on Cox, and it was called Coach's Cabana, and like, him and another coach from OSU, the Oklahoma State University, the rival of OU, they would narrate the OSU games separately outside of national television.
Oh, okay, kind of like what Eli and Peyton are doing now.
I don't know.
Yeah, they got a show. yeah. So they started it. The Manning brothers aren't original.
Yeah, they do it. Well, he did it on Cox with this other coach, and so I would. So when I started doing the carvings, I would send Coach pictures of them, and he is like, "Hey, can you come be on our halftime show for the OU Texas game? We're having it at the casino by Grand Lake. Will you come and be on the show?" And so my brother, who's a filmmaker, I actually went to Oregon, and we filmed one of the carvings. Like, I flew to Oregon, shipped all my equipment that I could ship, and then borrowed stuff when I was there. But we drove into the mountains of Washington State at a sawmill and got a log, and then I carved it in his driveway, and then I drove and presented it to Joe Jackson's family on April 24th, 2017. And so we filmed that whole interaction, and we had all these clips, all these, the footage that we weren't doing anything with. And I asked Manny, I was like, hey, can you make a short video out of what we did? Like, I don't know, a couple minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes. And so it'll give Coach something to play for his viewers and stuff. So that's what he did. But so from that interview that I had with Coach and during the halftime show, he ended up helping raise like $15,000 for me, and like I'm very grateful for that, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have been able to complete all 17 of the carvings as quickly as I did when I first, because once you start traveling a lot and everything, you realize, man, this stuff's expensive. It gets pricey pretty quick. And so I would use those funds that he helped raise through friends of his for when I went on a delivery. I would go use the funds for food, gas, lodging, so, and I always tell people, like, when I did compared to when I did the first carving compared to what I did the last carving, because I did the first one just for the family that I mentioned earlier. Yeah. And I delivered it to his family on the 5th anniversary of his death. And then from that point, I was like, well, I need to do this for all of them. I can't just do it for one. I need to do it for all 17. So I was like, how in the hell am I going to do all this? Like, this is a lot of work. I don't know where these people live. I barely know how to carve. The first one that I carved was with Clayton Koss, who's the guy who taught me how to carve. Like, we did that one together. So I didn't do another one of my carvings for about 6 months, 7 months, because I was worried, like, well, what if I do it and it looks like crap? Like, I can't put that out for people. I won't be able to present this to the family. It looks like crap. So, but another friend of mine runs an organization in Boston called the Boston Wounded Vet Run, and one of their honorees, his name was Joshua Bochard. He was a Marine. He was wounded in '09, partially paralyzed, lost part of his leg. The day after Christmas of 2016, his house caught on fire, and he climbed out the window with his 2 dogs and survived. And he was one of their honorees for that following year, their event. And so I told Andy, I was like, hey, I'll do a carving. I'll give it to you guys. You guys can auction it, sell it, raffle it, whatever, and with the proceeds going to him. So by myself, I went out there and carved one of my carvings. It took me like 18 hours and two days. I did it in 18 hours over a 2-day period. And then I was like, well, this looks actually pretty good. So from that point, I was like, okay, I need to start doing them for the rest of them. And that's when I just found them on Facebook or whatever, and tell them who I was, what I was doing. I would set the time and date up. I would do the carving. I would take off work and I would drive it and present it to the family. And it took me just under 3 years to complete all 17 of the deliveries. But during that time too, I was doing carvings for other families, other different events and whatnot, and raising money for different events or different Gold Star families. So I've done 69 of the memorial carvings to get all together, and but I've completed all 17 of the original ones.
And how long does it take you now?
The fastest I've ever done one is like 4.5 hours.
Yeah. So from 18 to 4.5, there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in there. Well, hopefully not much blood. Yeah.
Yeah, not with a chainsaw.
I've nicked my shoe once, but never had any major injuries while doing that. So that's good.
You don't want to join the club.
Yeah.
I know people though. If that happens,
right,
we'll hook you up.
But yeah, it's been a journey, that's for sure. It's not even over. It's still this next part's a pretty big thing, pretty big endeavor that we're going on.
Why don't you tell us about that? You got you got a film that you've already made some of it, or you're about to start? So
we have started filming some of it. There's been a few things that I told Manny. So my brother Manny, he's my older brother. I'm about to be 34, and he's 42. He left home in like 98, I believe it was, and he moved to California, and he lived in LA for 11 years. And he went to school at Pasadena Film and Art School, and he worked in LA for that whole time on commercials, movies, TV shows, stuff like that. And then he moved to Oregon. Well, his main focus now is he does documentaries. That's kind of that's what his passion is. He still does commercials and all that other stuff, but so his passion is documentaries. And he actually made a short documentary about Allie and I getting her back, and it played in the GI Film Festival in San Diego, and then it played in the GI Film Festival in Washington D.C. So anyway, so what we're actually doing now is we're going to make a feature film about. It's not really about 17 carvings. That's what I started 17 carvings because we had 17 Marines killed, and I wanted something to exemplify their memory. So it's not 17. It's Roman numeral XVII carvings, 17 carvings. So I started that in 2016, and so that's what our movie is based around, 17 carvings, because we're going to revisit all 17 of the families and get the stories from them, from the parents and from the siblings, the ones that knew the Marines the best. And we're also going to be interviewing Marines from our unit from 1-5 and when we're traveling around the country. So my brother asked me this when we were going back to for the 10th anniversary of Grinniger's death on July 12th. We were going up there, and I told him, well, we should probably film this. This would be a good to have in the film. And as we're driving up there, he asked me, he's like, well, you already did all the carvings, so what's this about? Like, what's the film about now? Because you've already completed all that. And I was like, well, the carvings were always about giving back to the families, because I felt like they might have felt like they were left out or forgotten. So doing those carvings and driving them and delivering them, that was like, I wanted to do that for them. I wanted them to make sure they knew that, they're not forgotten, they're not alone, and all that whatnot. And so this film is going to be about getting the stories about their sons out to the public, and for, because everybody has a story, and then that's no different than everybody, all them guys as well. So we were trying to tell the story of all these Marines from the people that knew them best, which is going to be their parents and the Marines who were there when they were on patrols with them in their fire team, their squad, their platoon, stuff like that. So that's what this film is about now. It's not really about the carvings. It's about the 17 Marines and getting those stories. So,
yeah.
And it's a huge undertaking doing a film like this. I mean, back when we were doing our little series with Adventures Enabled and Wounded War Outdoors, I know the extreme costs that go into that.
Yeah.
And so you've got a fundraiser that's coming up, correct?
Yeah, so another friend of mine, he owns a barbecue joint here in town, just about 25 minutes north of Tulsa, Oklahoma, in a little town called Skytook, Oklahoma. And he was a Marine as well in the late 90s, early 2000s, and then he got out of the Marine Corps and he went in the Army National Guard. So he got out of the military completely, and he bought the barbecue restaurant from his father-in-law, and he's been running it now. So he does a lot of stuff. He's well known in the community restaurant. His restaurant was ranked number 5, one of the top 5 in the whole South at one point.
Oh, wow.
And so he does a lot of stuff in the community, has a lot of connections. And he came to me and was like, hey, why don't we do a fundraiser for your film and like a birthday celebration for the Marine Corps? And I was like, yeah, we could do that. Sounds pretty good. So that's what we're doing. We're actually planning an event for November 10th at Mac's Barbecue in Skytook, Oklahoma. And so he did an event back in May called Mac's Mayfest, and he brought in he planned this whole event, had 1,500 people there, raised $20,000, and he donated all the proceeds to the local VFW in Skytook. So we're doing the Marine Corps birthday celebration, and then we're also doing like the fundraiser for our film, but we're adding a lot of stuff as the days go on. He'll call me and be like, hey, I just got a call from so and so. He's got a bunch of whiskeys that he's going to auction off for you, like rare whiskeys, and he's going to donate all the proceeds to you. So we just keep adding stuff like that. I'm trying to get more carvers because I'm going to be doing one of my memorial carvings, chainsaw carvings on site. I'm trying to get a couple other carvers there to carve Marine Corps or military related carvings. And then we're going to have the high school band's going to come across because it's right across the street. They're going to learn the Marine Corps hymn. They're going to play the hymn, the national anthem. We're going to have a band. Just had a meeting yesterday with a guy that he's a rep for Anheuser-Busch. And it looks like they might be getting involved and like providing like big tents, chairs, and also providing beer. We're also having labels. There's a brewery named Dead Armadillo Brewery in Tulsa, and they're going to print our labels on their Tulsa Flag beer, and we're going to sell cases of beer or 6-packs, or buy, if you just want to crack one there and drink it, you can buy one singles, whatever. But and we're also going to do whiskey bottles. So another friend of Adam's, he has a distillery in Tulsa, and there were 17 Marines that were killed on that deployment, and we're going to do 2 whiskey bottles per Marine, and each one of the bottles will be like, there'll be two bottles per Marine, and they'll be custom engraved with that Marine's name and KIA date, and we're going to auction them off as a pair. And then so when whoever purchases that auction or wins that auction, they'll keep one of the bottles, and the other bottle will go to the Gold Star family. When we go on the road to shoot the film, we'll take them and give them to the families. We're going to have a band there, like an actual band playing music. We're going to have, as I spoke to a guy earlier today, that we might have a guest speaker, General Admire. He's a 2-star general from Vietnam who lives in Tulsa. He might be our guest speaker. We're going to have like a cake cutting ceremony. So the Marine Corps does, like, if anybody knows anything about the Marine Corps or Marines in general, like, it's
the ball.
We love like celebrating the birthday. So we're like, and Adam was like, this is going to be the most lit Wednesday ever, because it's on a Wednesday. But that's awesome. It's going to be it's shaping up to be a really good event, and that's what it is. It's the Marine Corps birthday celebration, but it's also a fundraiser for our film, and it's looking like, like I said, it's going to be a pretty good event.
So a question for you, because we've got an audience that's far and wide, and I know those that are listening that live in Kansas and Oklahoma are thinking, how can I get there? So that's easy enough. You can get in your car and drive. Is there any way that somebody that's not able to show up to that fundraiser still support the movie? Yeah.
So so we are going to have some live auction items as well. If people don't want to bid on an auction item, or they just want to donate to us, we do have a GoFundMe, but we also have a physical sponsorship through the Utah Film Center. And they're a 501c3. So that's actually a tax write-off.
Yeah.
And, they don't want us to share their info unless somebody's going to donate for it, because like they gave us all the banking info and all that stuff, and obviously, but so they're like, unless somebody's going to make a donation that they want a tax write-off on, like if somebody's going to donate $50, and like I don't really think that somebody's going to be like, can I get a tax write-off on that? And those $50 is, you know what I mean? But I mean, obviously every donation is appreciated, but we're having some people that are donating like a couple $1,000s, and
right,
they're going to want a tax write-off, and we want to be able to give them a tax write-off. But if somebody wants to donate to us, we do have a GoFundMe set up that they can donate to that, and then we'll also have, like, the day of our event, the fundraiser that we're having is we're most likely the whiskey bottles that we auction off, we're going to be Facebook Live auction, so anybody all over the country can bid on them. The carvings that will be auctioned off that evening, those are going to be like in person, because we don't want to have to ship like carvings, it's bigger, heavier, and all that stuff. But so there are ways for people to get involved and help the film, even if they don't want to like partake in the auction or whatnot. It's through the GoFundMe or the Utah Film Center.
And we can kind of track your activity. Like if somebody's going to try to follow what's going on, would that be to go to 17 Carvings Facebook page? Is that the?
Yes. So I do have a Facebook page. It's 17 Carvings, and we're going to use that one for like updates when we're on the road. So our event is on November 10th. It's the actual birthday. On November 11th, the next day, we're actually leaving Tulsa, Oklahoma in an RV, and we're going to be on the road until about December 14th or so. And we're going to be traveling down to Texas, over to the East Coast, like Florida, up the East Coast, and then back around through Ohio, Minnesota, Wyoming, Utah, Colorado, and back in. And so it's going to take about 4.5, 5 weeks to do that portion of the filming. And and then we're going to go on the road again after the 1st, and we're going to go to the West Coast. There's 4 families out there that we need to interview and document and everything.
Yeah.
So we do have the Facebook page, the 17 Carvings Facebook page, but we also just started an Instagram page. It's called, I think, I don't even remember the name. One of the other guys started it. It's called, it's 17 Carvings as well. It's 17 Carvings Film.
Okay.
17 on 7 XV. That's one thing too. If you type in 17, you're not going to find it. It has to be XVII. It's like Roman numeral 17.
And we're going to put a link to both of those in the show notes of this episode. So, those that are listening to this while they're driving and whatnot, you can you just go to your app after you get done driving, and you click on a link, and it'll take you right there.
Okay. So and as Amos, I call him Amos. I don't really call him Matt, but I know him as Amos. But he was saying earlier, is like, with when they were doing their film and like funding wise and everything, I'm new to this world of fundraising for a feature film, but there's a lot that goes into it, and like even pre-edit and then like for the post, and a lot of the editing is where especially in documentaries, that's where you're spending a lot of the money, editing and for like music and stuff like that.
Right.
So yeah, we've had some pretty good, like Switzer's gotten involved and he's trying to get us money. He's actually already got us money. And we've had a couple other organizations like the Knights of Columbus has donated a pretty big amount of money towards us. And then through our GoFundMe and outside sources as well, we've also gotten some funding. Yeah. But we're thinking this event on the 10th will be pretty good. Even what Adam says, I'm like, yeah, because I tell Adam, I'm like, I think it's gonna be pretty big, like a big event. We'll probably do pretty good. And he's like, if not, it'll just be a great time, which is right.
It does sound like
it'll
a party.
Be a good time no matter what.
Oh yeah.
Hey, Switzer, I was born just outside Oklahoma City, Anthony, and I was a 10-pound, 3-ounce baby. And the doctor, when I came out, said, because Switzer was the coach at OU at the time, he said, call Switzer. We've got him a new linebacker. Like, yeah. So, funny. Yeah, Switzer and I are tied real tight. This is the first name I ever heard with my ears outside of the womb.
We'll have Chet send you some tapes to have Coach look over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, good. And I guess to kind of maybe wrap this first portion up, is what you're doing and what you have done with the carvings and everything like that, is spectacular, because a lot of guys tend to forget, and the public tends to forget, and what you've done and what you continue to do keeps those guys alive. And so, I've always respected that about you, and just appreciate what you're doing about that. And I would encourage anybody listening to get involved in any way you can, whether that's monetarily or sharing this. Follow the social media pages and stuff like that, and share it to get the word out.
Yeah, and Anthony, just kudos. Your heart's so big. And I just appreciate what you're doing, and I know hundreds of and thousands of other people appreciate what you're doing too. So just good job, man. I'm proud of you.
Well, I appreciate it. One thing I would say too is, like, if you are a veteran or served in the military, being a veteran, and you have hesitation to like reach out to a Gold Star family or somebody that. You lost somebody while you were in the service, and you want to make contact to that family, to their family. I can tell you that they would greatly appreciate it, because almost all the families that I've spoke with, the one thing that they've said is well, we're just afraid they're going to be forgotten. And when you come into their lives, when you come into their homes and their lives, and you sit there and you talk to them, you have dinner with them, and it's like. To me, I'm grateful to be there with them, but I feel like I'm giving them more than just a carving. Like, I'm giving them something that they've lost. obviously it's not their son or daughter, but you're giving them that company that they they enjoy, and they will be very grateful for that. So it does take, it's a hard thing to do to meet these families and talk to them and stare them in the face, and knowing that their son or their daughter didn't come home, but they're very grateful for it. And a lot of people struggle with like going to see the grave or going or trying to meet the family, but you should just do it before it's too late. So
yeah, I can tell you. So I met some missionaries actually in Haiti, that Gold Star family. Their son was in the Marines and lost in combat, and once a year, and I don't know if it was on the day that their son had died, but once a year on the same date, there were some Marines from the embassy would come and have dinner with them, and that was their favorite day of the year. Like that, it meant so much to them just to spend some time with some fellow Marines from what their son was. So it's extremely valuable. It's one of the more impactful things that you can do.
And I want to just circle back to what Amos just said. Like I've always having on a personal level, having your respect has always something been like important to me, because there's people in my life that I look up to, and like my father and my grandfather, and there's a couple other guys like Tony, who's a Marine as well. Like there's a select few people that I really look up to, and like ever since I met Amos, he's always been one of those people that I've had a high respect for, and like saw him as somebody that I really look up to in that category of a select few, because he was such a great leader, is a great leader, and and a good Marine and all that stuff. So I really appreciate like just everything that he's done for me in the past as well, and all the stuff that he continues to do with all the with Wounded Warrior Outdoors and stuff like that. So it's just means a lot.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. We just keep going and doing what we do.
Man, we're really coming close to crying on the. I'm going to shed a tear here. It's we're going to have to break this up. Thank you so much, Anthony, and I know you're going to hang around and give us some top three here, and just appreciate what you're doing. And we'll definitely remind everybody towards the end of the show to go and check out the show notes and click on some links and donate some money. So with that, we're going to go to a break. (1783), the first victory. Victorious in war, this year sees America earn her independence. At Admiral's Pennant, we celebrate victories at the end of war. 1783 is the first of many such celebrations in our nation's history. This is an elegantly refined blend of sandalwood, cedar, and tea tree. The subtle, lingering, woody scent of the sandalwood, light cedar, and the top notes of tea tree is the essence of masculinity, honoring the men who fought and continue to fight to provide us our independence.
Check it out at admiralspennant.com. Without it, you might as well shave.
And we are back.
All right, we're getting into some top threes.
Top three phone apps. I want to go first.
All right, hit it up, man.
I want to go first. Number 3, LinkedIn. As far as social media goes, I have had...
That's where it's at for you?
It is, because there's not drama. There's no drama. There's silliness. It's somewhat professional. It's not 100% professional, like all work kind of stuff, but you don't get the crazy stuff. You don't get the pimple popping videos. And
those are the best. What are you talking about?
But yeah, that one.
Does it get political?
No.
And that's good.
Every now and then somebody will post something like that.
But then they get hammered, right?
They do. In the comments, they're like, look, man, this is uncalled for. This is not what this platform is for. You can go, that's awesome. You take that to Twitter, like it's like, and it's not rude, but it's pretty hard.
They lay it down. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've I just get a lot of value out of a lot of the things that people post on there. So that's my number 3. Number 2, I don't know if you guys saw this angle or not. The Chosen.
Oh yeah,
They got their app, and that's when I started watching them. I didn't watch them on their whatever website they had or when they had their app come out and said you could use this app and then cast it to your TV. That's when I started watching The Chosen.
Yep, that's how we watched season 1.
Yeah.
Then I watched season 2 in the hospital.
Yeah.
on the website. So caught up.
So anyway, that's my number 2 app, and my number 1 app is My Radar.
Oh, I used that, a couple weeks ago when we had all that rain.
Yeah, so a lot of people, I like to call them amateurs, have other weather apps that tell them like forecasts and this, all this other kind of stuff. And the My Radar app is, you open it up and it's the radar of where you're located.
Yep.
And then it'll show, there's all kinds of layers you can put on it, cloud cover,
Wind.
warnings, wind direction, wind speed, and it all just shows you on the screen there. So there may be other people on this episode that have like another weather app.
I think he changed it because he's seen my notes.
I did not change it, but I have seen your notes. So anyway, that's my number 1.
All right, I guess I'll go next. Troy. Number 3 would be Applied Ballistics mobile app. And basically inside Applied Ballistics, it's got all my rifles, all my precision rifles, and then it's got all their dopes and everything that I need to dial up to make a good shot should any of my equipment fail. And then I can take the data from that and make dope cards to actually stick on my rifles. So if all of my electronic equipment failed, I could still make the shot.
Nice.
So it's a hunting app.
When do you, like, at what distance do you say I need to go to the ballistics here?
Pretty much anything past 500 yards.
Yeah. Okay.
Because that's where you have environmental factors that really come into play. Because I remember growing up sighting in a deer rifle, and you'd be out there with the old men, and they'd be shooting at 100 yards, and they'd be way off, and they'd be like, "That was a wind," And now that I'm a seasoned shooter, wind doesn't even affect a bullet until almost 500. It's minuscule, the amount that it's not going to push it to miss an entire animal. You're still going to be in that vital area. But 500 and on.
Okay.
Number 2 is Onyx Hunt.
Oh yeah, I've got that one.
And so that basically gives you the overlay of all the landowners, and I splurged for the nationwide app. So if there's a property or something like that, and it's just a good overhead view. So if I've got plans for my place, like I need to put a food plot here, I can actually lay it out, and it gives me how many square feet or acres it is. And, if I'm doing somebody else's property, I can do the same thing, get an overhead view and know where my property lines or their property lines are. So I'm not on somebody else's place. Number 1 is one that he already tried to trash, but it's AccuWeather, and the
amateur,
the radar
Nice.
on AccuWeather. You can do the same thing. You put layers, get wind speed, temperatures of what the clouds are doing and stuff like that. And matter of fact, I just recently downloaded this one because Weather Underground just went to absolute crap. Like it stopped. I put in where I was, because I don't have location stuff turned on my phone, so I always have to kind of give it the information, and it just stopped recognizing any place that I put in. So I deleted the app and found a new one. And I did see My Radar on there, and I was like, that's trash. So I'm gonna go
That's
with
Chet's trash.
Right.
I'm not using that.
and I'm going to go with AccuWeather, which is actually what I was looking at last night when that storm came through and filled my camper with water.
Yeah.
So you're welcome, Anthony.
Yeah.
But that'd be number 1 for me, because you always got to have the weather app, especially here. It may not be that critical in some states, but here in Kansas, you've got to be able to access that weather, especially when you live out where I do and you don't have tornado sirens that you can actually hear. You got to be
Right.
You got to be on point.
Yeah, I've got.
And
We just had tornadoes a couple days ago.
Yeah.
We were under. I mean, I was surprised. Here we are in October, and we had a watch last
Yeah.
night
Yeah.
till 5 a.m. this morning.
Yep.
Crazy.
There was a Sunday night. There was a tornado that hit Coweta High School, just like 15 minutes from my house.
Oh man,
Wow.
not normal for this late in the year.
It's crazy.
Global warming.
Yeah, Anthony, you wanna give us your top 3 phone apps?
Yeah. So I'm not very tech savvy, so I just kind of use my phone for texting, calling, and then just simple social media apps.
It's all good.
I just like I like taking photos and photos and videos, different types of photos, and like editing them and whatnot. So I use like a photo editor for that called Snapseed, and there's just a few other small ones that I use, but it helps me edit the photos. So that's probably my third one. I would say like the second one's just Facebook, because even though there's a lot of political crap on there or just stuff that I don't agree with or whatnot, but I use Facebook to keep in contact with the guys that I was in the military with, and also I use Facebook to run my carving page on it, like my 17 carvings page. So, so I do that, and then like, so that's number 2, and then I would probably just say like Instagram is the first number 1, because I don't know, I spend way too much time on Instagram.
Yeah.
And but I try. So when I post stuff on my Instagram, I try to give people like something good to read. I don't post like a picture of a cheeseburger that I had for lunch. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, that's
I'll
what
try
I
to
do.
post pictures of
It depends on how good the cheeseburger is. But yeah, I'm with you.
So anyway, that like skydiving related, talk about that. Or
Oh man, speaking of, like you are how many hundreds of jumps do you have now?
603.
Jeez Louise.
That's awesome.
We were so where I skydive is just half a mile from where we're having our event at on the 10th.
And
so.
I was blown away by the pictures that you had of yourself when you were in Alaska.
Yeah.
Because you're not only do you just skydive a lot, you're trying to capture some pretty cool places to skydive.
I'm trying. I'd like to skydive in all 50 states is the goal eventually. So I've got like, I think 10 right now or 11.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to outlaw some of those states though. Like I call outlaw jumping. You're going to just like get somebody with a plane and fly over the border. And like Rhode Island, I don't think Rhode Island has a drop zone, so I'm just going to have like somebody take me up and fly me over the border and let me land in a field and pick me up in the truck. So
try to land in the back of a moving pickup truck and just get out of there.
We had a Marine pilot on the show last week or a couple weeks ago, so maybe Richard will help you out there.
Yeah.
There's a guy up in Maryland that a friend of his, he's a co-owner on a Russian jet, and then a friend of his owns a B-24. Is it a B-24 Mitchell?
Yeah, that's it.
He has a B-24 Mitchell, and he was like, he started telling me, yeah, he's gonna. So I was asking him these questions, like, how high will he go? I was like, do the bomb doors open?
Yeah.
And the other guy that was standing there was like, he's asking you because he wants to jump out of it. Like, if you want to jump out of it, I'm gonna make it happen. So that's supposed to be in the works, hopefully.
Oh, that's
that'll be cool.
awesome.
All right, Troy, what you got, man?
All right, so number 3 is flip dunk.
What? flip dunk?
Flip dunk. It's like this crazy game where this dude flips in the air, and you got to see how many times he flips, and then he has to dunk it. And he jumps on trampolines and stuff.
Okay.
And yeah. I really just passed the time with this.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Well, if we were doing past the time apps, then Candy Crush would have had to been on Matt's top 3. That dude.
Crushing some candy.
It's not Candy Crush. It's Homescapes.
Homescapes?
Right? Homescapes. And then I'm not too ashamed to admit that I do Project Makeover as well, because it's more trying to beat the levels.
Man, this is comedy gold right here.
Oh, gosh.
See, that's why I brought up flip dunk, because I knew that would come out.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I've already passed like level 100, and I did it sitting at Discount Tire a couple Saturdays ago, waiting on my tire to get fixed. So, yeah. Then number 2 is Robinhood.
Good app.
The stock trading app?
Yeah. So I pretty much open that thing every morning, see how my stocks are doing. Sometimes I'll trade a little bit, but Not too often.
You could put those just in your home screen on your phone.
Yeah, but it's more fun to look at the little ticker. I like it. Yeah, but no, I like just going in the app.
Does it have, like, if they're going down, is it like big red numbers and red?
Yeah, it's red going up screen. Yeah.
Thanks, Biden.
Yeah, there's a lot of red.
Right. And then number 1 is Solitaire Cube. I play Solitaire on this thing all the time, especially when I had COVID. Like, it helped me stay focused on something, and I felt like I was just using my brain.
Like passing the time.
Like mentally passing
something.
the time, and it made me not think about how bad I felt and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I've been playing it for about a year and a half. A friend of mine, Josh, turned me on to it. You can actually win money on it. So if you deposit any money, and they have tournaments and stuff where people are winning thousands of dollars, which I've never been in those. I think when you first sign up, if a friend sends you a link, you get like $2 or $5. Mm-hmm. I think I'm down to 20 cents now. Oh. But I just play. You can play for free as well. You can play as an amateur and win these tickets and all this kind of stuff. But it's just fun. Good, wholesome fun.
All
Solitaire.
Right.
So we can tell based on your apps that you do absolutely nothing productive.
On his phone. That's fine. You don't have to be on your phone all day.
I use my phone to
I'm
call
just saying
people.
the phone is the gateway to somebody's life. You can tell a lot by the apps that they have.
I forgot to mention my honorable mention. Signal.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
I'm a fan
that's
of
how.
Signal. We don't have to tell everybody everything how we use encrypted text messaging.
Well, that's what I was going to say. That's
Yeah.
how people using
So
encrypted stuff.
Signal's an app that a Silicon Valley executive left all the stuff when it started getting a little invasive into privacy, and he created this app to allow you to communicate without anybody knowing. It's end-to-end
I mean, if we're
encryption.
gonna go that route, then I've also got to say ExpressVPN
Oh yeah,
because that protects your whole phone.
Yep.
All right, well, good deal.
All right.
Are you on the hook for a good word?
No, I am.
No, that's Chet.
Uh-oh.
Yep. All right, good word. All right, well, the good word of today is renew.
Let's go, Brandon.
Yeah. Renew. I don't know. I kind of got this from passage in Romans 12, verse 2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you'll be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. So 2 things there. Don't be conformed to the pattern of this world. And I mean, the pattern of this world is more obvious to me today than it has been in recent memory or ever. That destruction, death, backbiting, hatred, it's just more prevalent now. It seems like everybody's always at everybody's throat. So if you're not going to be conformed to that pattern, the way that you're not conformed is by renewing your mind. So I actually kind of dug a little deep here to understand renew, that word, renewing of your mind. The Greek term is, I can't pronounce it, anakinosis. And it's to make new, like qualitatively new, brand new, of a type that has never been found before. So it's not just talking about, hey, I've just got to stay sharp. It's literally you've got to renew like something that's never been there. I think, John Piper kind of spoke about this and say the problem with our mind is it's fallen. Our typical mindset is hostile to just about everything, especially the supremacy of God. Our minds are leaning towards not seeing what God wants us to see. Our minds actually seeing what we want to see, what we want to achieve, everything that's central to us. So to renew our mind is literally to break away from focusing on ourselves and to focus on something completely new, which doesn't come from us. It comes from being transformed by the renewing of our mind. So you're not going to get it just by your thought or gaining more knowledge. You're actually going to have to do that by focusing on what God's will is. There you go. Good word. Renew.
Good stuff.
Perfect.
All right.
Anthony, thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on.
Means a lot. And for those of you that were listening, go to XVII Carvings on Facebook and
Instagram.
You can connect with Anthony there, and XVII Carvings Movie, I think, on Instagram.
Film. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have links in the show notes for all of those, and don't forget about the big party that's going to be happening in Oklahoma on November 10th at Max Barbecue. Donate, arrive, bid, win, have a few drinks, and celebrate the Marines, the Marine Corps. The Marine Corps. I'll get it one day.
Are we 245? 246.
246.
Yeah.
246 years old and getting better every year.
Yeah.
No.
Right on.
All right. You ready?
Yep. All right. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Hardheaded Podcast. Don't forget to go to hardheadedpodcast.com. Click on that merch button that these two want to call merchandise. But you can click on that, buy yourself a nice
mug.
T-shirt or a mug.
You may need a poster.
May need a pillow with our faces on it to snuggle up with at night.
Yes.
Make you feel all warm and cuddly inside. Don't forget to share, like, rate, and review this podcast. That helps us get in front of more people. The algorithms love it, I hear.
I've never met algorithm.
That's a good one. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next week.